Hello everybody and welcome back to another sort of interesting video I'm going to try to do here on my channel. If you have been watching the videos on my channel recently, you may have come across a Slaughter to Prevail reaction that I did with my friend Chris, Chris Schoenberg. We filmed a few things before. We filmed an Olivia Rodrigo video, and one of those things was a reaction to Slaughter to Prevail's, I think, most recent song called Viking. And the reason I chose to do that initially was because I had been seeing it pop up kind of online, and I just kind of thought that at the time I was like, oh, well, this is kind of a heavy metal thing, or at least I assumed it was. And it was sort of in the zeitgeist at the moment, so I thought, well, maybe we'll get a surprise number of views on this video, and if nothing else, my friend Chris and I can have a good time listening to some metal that neither of us was very familiar with. If you are familiar with my channel, you know that we've been going through all of the Metallica albums throughout this year, and we occasionally listen to things that are heavier than Metallica, but for the most part on my channel, at least this year, I've been sticking to Metallica heavy and then below, going all the way down to like Grace Potter, Taylor Swift, things like that, more pop stuff. And so we listened to Slaughter to Prevail, and I was very surprised by what it sounded like. And I will say that it definitely wasn't necessarily the style of metal that I enjoy very much. I do like a lot of extreme, very heavy metal music, but generally I like to stick to music that has defined choruses and much more of a ABA song structure. And the song structure that in Viking that I heard was basically, there was almost no song structure. It was much more progressive in terms of what I was hearing. I don't recall there being a chorus or anything like that at all. And basically the song was just a heavy section, a heavy section, a heavy section, like a breakdown, a heavy section. And to me, it almost felt like sort of a novelty thing, or like a shock aspect of it was like the dude's voice. And so I'm here today to listen to some more Slaughter to Prevail stuff. And I wish that I had Chris here with me because I think that it would be much funner with him. However, because he has a little baby girl, just a few months old at his house, and we've had COVID at my house recently, and we're just getting over that. We've tested negative now at least over 2 weeks ago, but we're still sort of suffering a little bit of the effects, which is why I'm sweating profusely probably throughout this video, so I apologize for that, and if I end up coughing at all. But you know, been wanting to get Chris over here, and so the next time that Chris does come over here, we're going to have to dedicate probably a 4-hour chunk or so to Metallica, and we won't have any energy to do anything else. And I want to do this justice, and I want to watch maybe a few videos within this video. But I'm going to just say one of the main reasons I'm doing this is because we've gotten so many really great comments and a very surprising number of views on our Viking reaction. And a lot of the reviews were positive. Most of the reviews are people telling me and Chris that the singer's voice is all him, that it's all him and that it's real and that he's very loud. A lot of the comments were people saying that they've seen them at shows and he can actually set the microphone down and scream and you can hear it all across the whole room and everything. And so I've read all the comments. I think it's all very interesting. Chris and I, and the sort of one of the focuses of my channel is that we are audio engineers. I have a degree in audio engineering. I worked at a professional recording studio for many years. And so we were talking in the Viking video about sort of what we were thinking we were hearing. And I think one of the things we were sort of maybe implying was that it wasn't necessary, that his voice was manipulated in some way to make it sound the way that it was. And so I'm anxious to go through and listen to, and I still agree with, I still think that that is the case, by the way. I haven't listened to the song since we listened to it, but I distinctly remember hearing, you know, layering of his voice and things. Now, I don't think that that's not him singing. And obviously, if you're layering your vocals, it makes the vocals much thicker and everything. But anyway, I don't want to make excuses or anything like that. I'm excited to listen to a few things. And so I think what I'm going to do is maybe start with just a whole nother Slaughter to Prevail song, react to that. And then people were saying to listen to his like one take lives and things like that. And I do enjoy those videos. I mean, Courtney LaPlante from Spirit Box, her like, I did it videos are like the best videos in the world, right? When she's doing Holy Roller live and she's doing Rule of Nines live, just one take in the studio. So I totally understand it, and I'm excited to experience this guy's voice. And some of the people even commented that he has like a separate channel, I think, where he's done covers of songs in the past. And so I'm kind of excited to see what to check out. I'm not going to watch a billion videos or anything. but we'll just kind of see what pops up on YouTube and what happens. I'm off to the side in this video a little bit here because I am going to bring up my video thing and I'll be watching some videos, you know, and whatnot. So hopefully you guys will be able to see everything with me. I'll probably have to put like a layer of stuff over this for copyright reasons and everything. But this band, I believe, is getting much bigger right now than they have been in the past because of people doing reactions to them. So they should be one of those bands that I think is allowing people to use their music in at least, you know, have the videos on YouTube with the music in it and everything. So hopefully I don't come across any copyright issues, but just in case I do know, I tried as much as I could. Another thing I have to say is that I just was getting ready to film this video and I had to go run and do a task. And I'm not going to get into it. It wasn't a very big deal, but it was very frustrating. And so I'm just sitting here kind of in like a puddle of frustration and bordering on somewhat ragey anger. And so I think listening to something like Slaughter to Prevail is a good idea for me right now. So before we get into that though, I brought my little bit of Kool-Aid ice on the bottom of my glass, and we're going to be here for a while. So I brought a bottle of Mountain Dew. And like I said, I'm just looking to feel better, learn a few things about this band, and have a fun time. So without further ado, let's get into it. I am going to try to break down some of the stuff that I'm hearing, and I might get a little bit technical. We'll see what happens, but it's possible I might get a little technical in terms of how I think they may be achieving some of the sounds they're achieving, but we'll just kind of see what happens. I am not necessarily an expert on metal music. I have produced and recorded and mixed and edited 3 different metal albums for a band, a friend of mine. I do not think it sounds anywhere remotely near as good as probably the worst thing Slaughter to Prevail ever released. I've been a fan of metal music for a long time, so if this is your first time here, that's a little bit of background on me, I guess a little bit, but yeah. So I'm going to just bring this up and we'll see what we can come across. I think I am still recording, yeah. So I just searched Slaughter to Prevail, and I see like we've got like the Vikings 2 months ago, Demolisher 3 years ago, that's 21 million views. Wow, only 2.9 million views on Viking. That's interesting. So Demolisher from 3 years ago has 21 million views. That's crazy. That's a lot. Maybe I should listen to that one. I was going to listen to Baba Yaga. That's 10 million views 2 years ago, 9.1 million views 4 years ago for Agony. I was scrolling down. Hey, here's our video. I'm on a different channel right now, but here's our video if you want to watch that at some point. Look, 4.7K views. That's quite a lot for my videos, so that's really awesome. So this says Alex Terrible. I don't know if that's the name of the guy. I think like Alex Terrible, One Take Live. Okay, so this is what we're going to watch in a little bit. This was 2 months ago. This is the song Viking, One Take Live. So we'll watch that in a little bit. But first I want to pick one of these songs up here. And I was going to do Baba Yaga, but maybe I should do Demolish. Now, you know what? Demolisher has 21 million views. Everybody's watched that video. So let's listen to Baba Yaga and just see what we think.
Flesh we ate, that was the core of your innocent. Broth we took, flesh we ate, love through the pain, nothing but fun.
Gotta turn it down a little. Ooh. That part, his vocals reminded me of We Butter the Bread with Butter a little bit. I like the way he was singing there. Oh, that's sweet, a bear eating a dude. Okay, he's doing that sort of like singy, screamy talk thing. Bit of like almost like a hip-hop feel here. Aw, man. Why you gotta swear in your music? Swear in Russian at least. I don't care about that. Clean vocals. I was not expecting that after hearing Viking. Oh. So that sounded like a clearly defined chorus. Let's see if they do that again. Dude, the tank is awesome. Okay, chorus. Wow. I wonder if it's that main guy doing the clean vocals as well. There's the bass drop. Oh, that mask is cool that it moves when he sings. That's awesome. I will say, to me, I did listen to the Lorna Shore album last year. I know breakdowns are cool and like you feel it in your soul and everything, but like, I'm just kind of over it. You know, it kind of is eye-rolly to me. Like, I would be more impressed if there was like a cool keyboard line or some neat little electronic thing, you know, just going half tempo. This is a little different. Like, this part to me is way more impressive than that breakdown. Ooh. Lead guitar. Playing Russian roulette. I wonder if they just call it roulette. Yeah! Are they going to do the chorus again? Should I look how much time is left? No, they will not do the chorus again. Singer. Okay. Okay, let's come back. Shut this off for a sec. Okay. I like that song way more than Viking. Like I said, Viking, maybe if I listen to Viking again, I'd be like, oh, there was kind of like a repeated chorus part here, but I don't remember that being the case. Here, clearly defined chorus. They only did it twice, and that's a little bit of a bummer, but it's okay. You know, I'd rather at least have a defined, repeated part to latch onto. But I liked the groove of this song. I feel it was probably like a bit more of like a straightforward type thing than Viking. Viking was clearly meant to be this like showcase for his crazy vocals, and it was clearly meant to be more of a sort of like a stylized thing. This seemed a little bit more fun. You know, they had the gore with the dude ripped apart by the bear and stuff, and the singer was like holding up the severed head and all that stuff. That was all really awesome. I liked all that. The walking with the tank was really cool. So like, I don't even know what the budget for this is, but that's really awesome. I do want to point out that a few people were kind of impressed that I commented in the Viking video that I thought it sounded like he was almost speaking Russian. And so, yeah, I'm going to take credit for that. I was listening to it and I was like, this sounds a little bit like Russian to me. And so, yeah, I don't have very much experience with Russian music at all. When I was younger, I really loved Tattoo, and I do not feel embarrassed saying that. I feel like a lot of people sort of like ironically liked Tattoo at the time. But after All the Things She Said came out, I bought the album. I loved the album. And then when 20 Kilometers Per Hour in the Wrong Lane came out, I think that's what their second album was called. Love that album as well. And I believe I have all of their albums. I think they only released 3 albums before they split up and had all that drama and stuff. But I really like Tattoo. I have like a greatest hits of theirs that has like their Eurovision song entry on it. And I've heard Lena Katina's solo album from, I think, like 3, 4, 5 years ago at this point, maybe 6 years ago. It's a really great album. A lot more pop, you know. But the cool thing about Tattoo is the drums and the sort of rock elements to it as well. and their voices were just unique. But so Tattoo is definitely the most like Russian thing that I'm most familiar with in terms of music. I do have one CD by a band called, I have no idea how to pronounce it, but it looks like Muimi Troll or something like that. Muimi Troll. And that album is okay. It's not my favorite thing. I believe it's all in English, but I found out it was in Russian after I purchased it. I don't think I even knew what it was when I bought it. I just bought it used somewhere, sort of sight unseen. But I do want to point out that one of my favorite things that I've ever experienced in my life, my all-time number one favorite book series, is Russian. It is the Night Watch series by Sergei Lukyanenkov. And I adore the whole series. And in that series, music is actually a very big part of it. And the main character, Anton, in those books, listens to a Walkman for a long time. And then as the series goes on, I believe he ends up getting like an MP3 player or something. But one of the bands that he mentions a lot in that is a band called Picnic with a K. So if you are familiar with Russian music, if you're from Russia at all watching this, I don't even know if Russian people can watch YouTube stuff. So much stuff is blocked from them right now. But I've always wanted to look into that band and see what they sounded like. But, I never did. When I was initially reading the books, you couldn't really just look up anything you wanted on the internet. I mean, you could look it up maybe on YouTube, but like Spotify didn't exist at the time or anything like that. So anyway, so that's just sort of my like. I'm proud of myself, I guess, for realizing that he was speaking Russian. Now I did hear some English words in there, some swear words, so I'll have to unfortunately edit that out because we don't have swear words here on my channel, at least not the really bad ones. So that was a little disappointing. But anyway, I love that song. There was like a bit of like a hip hoppy groove to it almost. The clean vocals were a little bit cringe, but I was happy to have them in there because it really separated the heavy part from 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 the breakdown to the heavy part. I really liked that part after the first chorus where it was like... And he definitely used all sorts of vocal styles in there. This song to me sounded much more grounded in the reality of what his voice I'm sure can do. The stuff that I was hearing in Viking that I was commenting on was, I'm sure he had like one track in there of him doing it, but there were definitely vocal effects and possibly secondary takes and things of him trying different things, and then you combine all those sounds together to make like an unnaturally massive, like impossible thing for a human being to do live. But with that being said, let's not even we don't even have to like debate about this, right? We can just go back and watch that video. Let me bring this up again. There you go. We can go back and watch that video of him doing a live take in the studio. So Slaughter to Prevail, Viking, Alex Terrible, one take live. We'll make it. I would love this more than anything in the world if after it was done he went, I did it, right? That's just such an iconic moment for me from Courtney LaPlante. All right, let's see. I will say, I don't want to imply at all that he can't do incredible, crazy vocals. I myself personally am not necessarily super impressed by like dudes that can do like pig squeals and all this stuff. I guess I'm impressed that they can do that stuff, especially to do it consistently during a show and for an extended period of time. That definitely means the person knows what they're doing and they know their technique. But I don't generally care for music that has all that crazy stuff. Like I definitely prefer like grunts and growls to someone who's screaming high pitched, like I do not like power metal and stuff like that. So that when I listen to something like, Scar Symmetry, I think Christian Alveston's probably, in my opinion, my favorite metal vocalist probably of all time. But like I mentioned in the video earlier, We Butter the Bread with Butter, a band that has no clean vocals whatsoever. I really like the way that those guys do it. And they have different sort of styles and stuff as well. Or that guy, I guess. There's two singers they've had, and I like both singers as well. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. There's certain heavy styles of music that I really enjoy, the sort of like grunting, growly style a little bit more. This is significantly more extreme than that. So let's just get into this and we'll see. Oh, well, we'll see what happens. I like that he has his... There's the Jimmy Josta part. When you start with a more normal voice and work your way into it. Wow, that was cool. Also, I like that he's jacked. His tattoos look sweet. Dude looks awesome. And watching this, you can just tell he's like a cool dude, which is great. Is that a tattoo on his face around his eye, or is that like a scar? It almost looks like a scar. Might be a tattoo of a scar. He's got Audio-Technica headphones, it looks like. Wow. Going from one to the other so fast. Wow, there is a chorus. He did this part earlier. I guess I just didn't notice when we were listening the first time. That's awesome. It's captivating to watch, for sure. Oh, that's crazy. Oh. Very effortless. I love that lower voice that he has. Oh, that's cool. So my guess is he's listening to a track with a little bit of like a few clicks in there. Probably click track. That'll be my guess. Maybe not. I guess you do have to get sort of angry to a certain extent, but he loses a lot of credibility with doing that at the end to me. I lose a lot of respect that I was gaining for him throughout the video, because you don't really have to be like that. Even if you do have to get kind of angry to like do the performance with passion and emotion, like kind of makes me want to stop doing the video. Just kind of be like, yeah, that's the way you feel about me. That's the way I feel about you. I don't need to listen anymore to your music then. So let's see here though. What do we got? 1984. Okay, now we're like down to all sorts of weird stuff. Let's look up some of his covers and just see if he wants to insult me at the end of every one of his videos. Anyway, let's listen to Alex Terrible's version. Is it going to be a whole metal version, or is it going to be just him doing sort of like a karaoke version of it?
Girls, don't get hurt, can't feel anything. When will I learn? I push it down, push it down.
The mask is cool. It definitely loses a lot of the, like, connectivity you have with the guy when he has the mask on, though. Yeah, that's enough of that. Not that it wasn't cool, but to me that seems like it's kind of a bit more of like a kind of like a funny thing. Whereas I want to be like, I want to be impressed listening to some of this stuff. Here's just a total Russian thing. What's this? Let's listen to what this is. Metal cover of a Russian song, maybe? They definitely have a cool aesthetic with like the mask and stuff. Like, I suppose you could look at this and be like, it's kind of like, that's pretty cool. I wonder how long they've been a band. Like the keyboards here. I'm gonna look them up on Discogs and we'll see. The holes through the hat is funny. Ooh, doubling the vocals here with a clean vocal. That was cool, by the way. I really enjoy listening to music in other languages, so that's not something that would... Okay, so they only have 6 releases. They only have 2 albums. Misery Sermons on Sumerian Records from 2017 and 2021's Kostalom. Bonebreaker, Demolisher, Baba Yaga. Every song has explicit lyrics on it, so... let's check their first album. Does every song have explicit lyrics on it? Yeah. Maybe they just have it set so the whole album has explicit lyrics on it. Or maybe these guys are really just can't come up with interesting lyrics and they feel the need to swear a lot. Like I said, that kind of makes me lose my interest in a band to a certain extent. What else we got here? Here's a Gojira cover. I don't know that much about Gojira. Here's Bonebreaker live in Moscow. Let's check that out. He's got facial hair. Snare sounds kind of cool. Tight snare, bit of more of a hollow sound. This song to me is quite a bit more boring. Maybe because it's live and I guess they don't have all the like bells and whistles on, maybe. They still got the bass drops. And they got this sort of like background tracks doing this sort of corn thing, and then those like sort of You know what? I think I've just lost interest in this band. I think they're the initial crazy way that he sings is awesome. But to me personally, it got old a little bit. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I don't generally listen to bands where the vocalist changes styles a whole bunch like that. I really tend to gravitate to more towards, like, I really think Scar Symmetry is like one of the best bands. And again, that's a different sort of style. This is definitely more aggressive, extreme metal. But when I think of like guttural vocals that I like in metal, I think of like Scar Symmetry and Christian Alveston on their first 3 albums, and even their 2 singers who they got to replace him. But I like it when there's sort of like a low, more guttural, growl, and then the singer can also do a more of a scream, right? And then what you do is you layer those, and you layer multiple takes of things to make the vocals feel very big. And I do understand that one of the cool things that's happening here with this is that his vocals are so interesting, and so it's such a focal point of what you're hearing that you don't need to do all sorts of layers. And honestly, it would probably be hard to layer his voice because there's so much of like a rhythmic, like, when you're guttural like that, there's like a rhythm to the way his voice is, right? And if you have a that's at a different tempo, if you did a different take, and the was at a different, and they weren't lined up correctly, it would sound very mishmashy, right? So the more of a like rhythmic feeling you have to these like lower gutturals, the less you could have layers of the same thing on top of it. And that's where like pitch shifting can come in and things, which I do think we heard a little bit of that on the studio version of, or at least the official video version of Viking. But like, definitely believe he can do everything that he did. And I've seen proof of that with that live one take vocal. And at first I was like, kind of sounds like they might be cheating it a bit. But then the more the song went on, I was like, no, pretty sure this is just him doing the one take live. And just because something is a one take live doesn't mean that it couldn't have been, fluffed up a bit in post. You can still edit the vocals, obviously do the compression, EQ and stuff like that, but he probably has his stuff set up. And if he does live streaming and stuff like that, I'm sure he has all of those things built into his system so that it's already on his voice and his voice sounds the way he wants it to. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you couldn't still do a little bit of fixing up of certain things after the fact. Not that that was done in that live one take recording that we heard. But yeah, I think the magic that I felt a little bit with this has sort of deteriorated from me throughout the recording of this video. And so for me personally, Slaughter to Prevail will be a band that I pass on from now on. I don't think, if they do another song and it gets getting millions and millions and millions of views, maybe I would do a reaction to it to just kind of see what it is. But I don't think this band is for me, and that's totally fine. And if they're for you, that's great. I am happy that music like this does seem to be making its way into the mainstream a little bit more. it seems over the last few years or so. I watch a lot of, or not a ton, but I watch some Nick Nocturnal videos. If you're familiar with him, and he had a video recently talking about how he thinks that the state of metal today is better than it's ever been. And I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that because, I mean, when I was in high school, and this is slightly different, obviously a band like Korn is way different than a band like Slaughter to Prevail, but when I was in high school, you could hear Korn songs on the radio followed by like Britney Spears and NSYNC and stuff. And that was pretty crazy, you know? And then we had things like Shinedown, which again, I know Shinedown is completely different than Slaughter to Prevail, but thinking about hearing, you know, like a Drake song on the radio now, followed by any sort of a song with a guitar whatsoever in it, sounds almost kind of silly. So, and we'll see. I mean, music goes through phases. Pop music itself goes through phases. Right now, pop music is really interesting because it's basically just this sort of electronic music I was listening to in the early 2000s. And so it's interesting how pop music kind of goes in waves. But in that Nick Nocturnal video, he was talking about how bands like Slaughter to Prevail, and he mentioned other ones that I wasn't super familiar with, but even I think like that Lorna Shore album from last year and those 3 videos that they did, which I didn't care for at all. And I think that one of the main reasons people only like that is because the videos are meant to be like sad and stuff, which makes me roll my eyes. But basically, in the Nick Nocturnal video, he was talking about how certain very extreme heavy bands are being mentioned on social media and are being seen by a lot of people who you wouldn't necessarily think would be exposed to that music. And so in that regard, I think stuff like this is really cool. And I think that metal is in like a really good place when you think of it sort of like broad spectrum like that. But as I've said, I don't think Slaughter to Prevail is for me for several reasons that I've already mentioned in the video. So yeah, no need to beat a dead horse as it is. Although if it was a horse in one of these guys' videos, it would be a dead horse decapitated and they'd be probably drinking its blood. But hey, that's cool. Nothing wrong with horse meat. So, yeah, I'll just end the video there. Thank you very much for watching. Try not to be too mad at me that I didn't like, you know, bond with this music as much, but it is what it is. So thank you very much, and I will see you maybe in another video sometime on my channel.